So many of the mechanics quit work from sheer necessity and went elsewhere to seek employment, that the question of how and when the temple was ever to be completed became more of a problem every day. Charles Lambert and one of his fellow mechanics, W. Player, who also was an Englishman and a man of faith, discussed this problem between themselves and voluntarily pledged themselves to continue at work until the temple was built, whether they were paid for their services or not. It is one thing, however, for a man to deny himself, and quite another to deny a dependent wife and children the comforts or necessities of life. Charles Lambert had married during the first year of his residence in Nauvoo and undertaken the support of 2 brothers and a sister of his wife, who had recently been orphaned and were helpless. He felt keenly his responsibility and wished for money as he never had done before. While feeling thus, he was passing along the street in Nauvoo one day when he met a well-dressed, genteel stranger who inquired if his name was Charles Lambert. On being told that it was, he said his name was Higgins and that his home was in Missouri. With an ingratiating smile, he said, "I have heard of your skill as a workman and want you to go to Missouri and work for me. You are not appreciated or properly paid here. If you will quit the temple and go and work for me, you can name your own price, and you will be sure of your pay. You see, I have plenty of money with which to pay you." Suiting the action to the word, he thrust his hand into his pocket and drew it out full of $10 and $20 gold pieces, which he displayed in a tempting manner, and urged him to accept his offer and not to submit any longer to the unfair treatment accorded him at the temple. With a gesture of impatience, called forth by the intimation of unfairness, Father Lambert thanked the stranger for his offer, but said he couldn't think of accepting it. He said he had no complaint to make of his treatment at the temple, and the price others would pay for work they wished done would not influence him in the matter, as he intended to continue on at the temple from principle. Bidding the stranger good day, he turned to continue his walk along the street, but almost immediately the query arose in his mind as to how the stranger knew his name and where he got his information from about his skill as a mechanic, and turned to take a final look at the stranger, when lo, he was nowhere to be seen. He had disappeared as completely as if the ground had opened and swallowed him, and yet he had not had time by any ordinary means of locomotion to get out of sight. His opinion was, and remained so up to the day of his death, that he had been talking with no other than Satan, the prince of tempters. And though he had not yielded to his tempting offer, he was vexed with himself for listening to him at all, and especially to his insinuations about the temple management. When Father Charles Lambert left Nauvoo, he entered upon an order of life that was entirely new to him, that of a frontiersman. In remaining in Nauvoo until the work on the temple ceased, he not only followed the counsel of the authorities of the church, but fulfilled also the vow that he has personally made to do so regardless of compensation. There was, however, an additional reason for his so doing. While continuously employed upon the temple, he had no opportunity of earning by work elsewhere the necessary equipment for migrating. He had, partly by his own labor at odd times and partly by help from others, completed the woodwork for a wagon, but lacked the required iron to finish it, or the necessary money with which to buy it. Preparation for the journey was thus effectually blocked for some time, until the money was finally provided in a most miraculous manner, as a direct answer to prayer. He had been out in a rainstorm one day and had returned home drenched to the skin. After changing his clothes, he hung his wet trousers over a chair back before the fire to dry. When he was about to resume the use of the same clothes again after they had become dry, an English gold sovereign and 15 cents in silver rolled out of the trousers pocket upon the floor, notwithstanding the fact that he previously had no money. This was just the amount required for the purchase of the iron, and the wagon was soon completed.